the people who are railing the hardest against decriminalization are those who are most in need of a smoke.
Maybe we should launch a bake down your anxious politician day. Kind of, and I mean that. You talk to Nate Silver over at 538, and what he says is anybody in this country who has ever smoked marijuana, whether you smoke it now or not, always polls to be in favor of legalization because they're like, well, I don't know, I wouldn't want to smoke it myself, but you smoke it. And anybody who has never smoked it is like, well, you better not do that.
It's horrible.
So what I'm saying is, might be time to go bake down some non-pot smokers. Could you think you could organize such a thing? Just a one-time event. The legalization bake down.
A different sort of Million Man March.
Yes, exactly. All right, time now for Friday's installment of the Daily Rant. And this fall, California voters will make history if they decide to legalize pot for personal use with a ballot measure entitled Proposition 19. Opponents of Prop 19 say if the measure passes, it will unleash a slew of problems from gang violence to drug abuse. My man Toure has a slightly different take. Take it away, sir.
Every night, millions of upstanding Americans return home after a day of work, put the kids to bed, and grab a joint. They puff, puff, pass, and get mellow. If my mom is watching, I have never, ever done that. Is this immoral behavior? It is not. And soon in California, it might be legal. Proposition 19, the Regulate, Control, and Tax Cannabis Act of 2010, would allow adults to possess an ounce of marijuana for personal consumption, to use it in a non-public place, and to grow at a private residence. It means the all-American pursuit of happiness and the right to do what you like in the privacy of your home could soon expand to allow in a little weed. Recent polls show Prop 19 will pass in November, though passage will require thousands of potheads to find the motivation to get out and vote, and motivation is not their strong suit. All 9 former DEA administrators are urging President Obama to militate against the proposition, proving they're definitely not the sort of guys you invite to a party. Marijuana is already quasi-legal in California. It's one of 14 states that allow the sale of medical marijuana. And in Cali, anyone can get a medical marijuana card. Doctor, I have anxiety. Here's a card. Doctor, I have a headache. Here's a card. Doctor, I want a card. Here's a card. But after decriminalization, reputable licensees will sell it, and hundreds of millions of tax dollars will flow into the state's pockets. And the police will no longer spend time and taxpayer dollars chasing, arresting, and jailing people who are smoking something the World Health Organization says poses a much less serious public health threat than alcohol and tobacco. Weed doesn't inspire violence or wreak physical or mental havoc like heroin and cocaine, and in the history of the world, no one has ever died from an overdose of Mary Jane. And if everyone who smoked weed graduated to other drugs, then most of those who were young in America in the 60s would now be hardcore drug addicts. The argument that marijuana use is a gateway into the world of hardcore drug abuse is perhaps the loudest anti-decriminalization message around, but this is just slippery slope fear-mongering. Studies have shown an addictive personality is more predictive of becoming an addict than using cannabis. So if you've got addictive tendencies, you'll become an addict whether or not you smoke weed first. England, Spain, Italy, and Portugal also don't jail people for small amounts of weed. It's time America loosened up about Mary. And tragically, Dylan, the people who are railing the hardest against decriminalization are those who are most in need of a smoke.
Maybe we should launch a bake down your anxious politician day. Kind of, and I mean that. You talk to Nate Silver over at 538, and what he says is anybody in this country who has ever smoked marijuana, whether you smoke it now or not, always polls to be in favor of legalization because they're like, well, I don't know, I wouldn't want to smoke it myself, but you smoke it. And anybody who has never smoked it is like, well, you better not do that.
It's horrible.
So what I'm saying is, might be time to go bake down some non-pot smokers. Could you think you could organize such a thing? Just a one-time event. The legalization bakedown.
A different sort of Million Man March.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, you're right that personal experience and seeing, hey, it's not that big a deal, man. You have a little thing.
Anybody's had 3 glasses of wine.
3, not even 2,
right, 2.
Really. You know, I mean, but you made the point that the people who most don't want or most against decriminalization,
alcohol and beverages, because they make a lot of money. Remember, we live in a sinister world where money controls the government. Who stands to lose the most in the event of a legalization of another sort of escapist, mood-enhancing drug of some kind, which marijuana is?
They want to be our high. They don't want anybody else to cash in on their monopoly.
Only Budweiser for you. Is there anything that you see in this entire debate? Is there anything that you see that you've heard in this debate that has struck you as a credible reason not to legalize?
Not really. I mean, like, you know, free the police from chasing people who aren't really doing anything immoral. You know, more tax dollars in the state's coffers. I mean, like,
is 60% of the drugs coming out of Mexico? The whole drug war is marijuana-based.
You know, I'm not sure this is going to end the drug war in Mexico. That's one of the things that the proponents are saying.
Sure.
I don't know if that's going to quite happen.
That one?
But I mean, you know, when I'm wondering why did we stop prohibition? I mean, like we saw there. I mean, did alcohol change from moral to immoral? No. I mean, like, you know, it's okay.
It's time.
Relax.
It's time.
Relax.
All right.
It's not about justice, it's not about agenda, it's not about mobilizing people, it's about dialing for corporate dollars. These 2 parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.
Drugs are bad because if you do drugs, you're a hippie, and hippies suck.